Currently, in the United States, over 10 million people are living with cancer and thousands more are affected. Cancer clinical trials help develop new therapies and drugs that can be used to further medicine and treat cancer.
In this segment, we're going to talk about what clinical trials can do, what they are, some common misconceptions, and why cancer patients should participate in these clinical trials.
Clinical trials are an important factor in finding new treatments and medicines for different types of cancer. They basically are the key to advancing the treatment of particular diseases.
Clinical trials are often called different things. Clinical trials, research protocols, treatment trials. So they may come up with a different name, but it's basically all the same thing. It's used in cancer, you can have all different types of trials. It doesn't have to be just cancer, but in cancer, it's to find a better treatment for cancer patients, but it's also sometimes used for better care, whether it be quality of life, whether it be a prevention trial. So there's different types of clinical trials, but that's basically what I see. You may be using a new drug, maybe a new approach to surgery or radiation. There's all kinds of different ways they can to approach it.
Cancer clinical trials usually start with an idea that has worked well on animals. However, just because it works for animals does not mean it'll work for humans.
The trial can be divided into 4 phases. The first phase is done with a small amount of people. In this phase, researchers try to find a safe dosage, decide how the treatment should be given, and determine how the new treatment will affect the human body. The second phase determines if the treatment has an effect on the certain cancer and usually involves less than 100 people. Phase 3 usually involves around 1,000 people and compares the new treatment to the current standards to assess the change. Phase 4 assesses the long-term safety and effectiveness of the new treatment and involves several thousand people. Because cancer is such a complex disease, patients can participate in any stage of the trial.
Now, we are going to talk about what clinical trials can do.
As an adult who's been diagnosed with non-terminal cancer, I know the pain that you are going through. I was curious about clinical trials, so I asked my doctor about them. She said that they are the best way for doctors to learn what is safe and effective in the treatment or prevention of diseases like cancer. When my doctor recommended that I participate in a trial, I jumped at the chance. By participating in a clinical trial, you are being offered the ability to go one step further than the standard treatment. Although it isn't proven yet, it could still potentially help you and thousands after you.
Many of today's commonly accepted treatments started out as clinical trials. For example, in the 1970s, doctors started noticing that aspirin could be a good treatment for those coming into the emergency room with a heart attack. Because of clinical trials involving thousands of participants, doctors found that aspirin can be a potentially life-saving drug.
Without participants in these clinical trials, there will be little to no advancement in the development of new techniques and medicines. Because of progress made for clinical trials, many people treated for cancer are now living longer.
On our next portion, we're going to talk about common misconceptions involved with clinical trials.
Well, probably one of the things that I've heard in the past, and I don't think I hear it quite as much now, is they don't want to be used as a guinea pig. I think that's one of the old thoughts about treatment trials or clinical research. So that's probably one thing that comes up. Another thing is they think, is it going to cost me anything? That may come up as well. Sometimes it's just fear, whether it's them or maybe a family member that's fearful. They've been bombarded with this diagnosis of cancer. They already had this big unknown future in front of them, and to approach something else that they know nothing about can put fear in them as well.
If you are interested in participating in a clinical trial, please talk to your doctor. Not everyone is eligible to participate due to many factors. People of all ages and stages of cancer are needed for trials. So don't think that your stage of the disease or age will automatically disqualify you from possible entrance into a trial.
Most people don't pay attention to clinical trials until they hear something bad about them on the news. Medical breakthroughs, the results of clinical trials, often make the news, but you don't usually hear about the clinical trials behind the successes. Being involved in a new trial not only has the potential to help you live longer, but also has the potential to help thousands of people after you. Imagine that your grandchild is diagnosed with the same cancer you have. Because of your help in participating in a clinical trial, a new drug or treatment could be discovered, which could potentially help save your grandchild's life.